I like Mike's bow case first and foremost. It's really nice.
It's an iPad. It's my iPad too.
It's
It's
your
got all
iPad,
the
too?
all my stuff in there. Who
Oh.
makes those pants?
These?
I can see the veins in you.
These are Black Rifle shorts.
You're definitely circumcised.
Look at, I'm not. So let's go check out my bow, I guess. This is the PSC Levitate. So this is the bow that John Dudley basically gave to me, which is very nice. From his hand to mine.
That's the problem.
Right?
Is I don't have one of those.
I have modified it because he said, you need X, Y, and Z. And I was like, but I'm going to do my own thing, John. Not you, but John Dudley. So I put on one of these dialed.
That's sexy.
Sight. Yeah, dude, I like it a lot.
Did you
See?
spray paint that?
No, I didn't.
Or it comes like that?
It comes like that.
That's
OD.
sexy.
So let's do what I call the garage door challenge.
Okay.
It's 66 yards.
Done.
Done.
One shot?
One shot.
Easy.
So I'll lead the way, and then Logan will go second. One shot, we're going center green. So not top, not bottom. We're going center green, okay? Woo! There we go.
Ooh. Were you going for lower?
Good.
You say lower green because it looked like you were going
No,
for
I
lower
said center
green.
green.
Oh, center green.
Center green. I like a wide stance. I like when Logie's got a wide stance.
He's super wide.
It imposes confidence.
The problem with you guys is you're using releases that are unfamiliar. You guys have good trigger fingers.
Oh! Did you hit the concrete?
Pretty close to yours. Pretty close.
Oh.
Oh, shit. All right, let's see what Mikey's got.
You guys were going for the green, right? Because it looks like you're a little off.
Center green dot.
Like you're trying to hit the green.
Yes. From the corner. From the crack. That's what I call it. 66 from the crack.
What's your breath?
Yeah! That's
really
what I'm
good.
talking about.
That was so
That
hard.
was so... You kept hammering that arrow right into that concrete wall.
Jesus, my arrow! That was like $5 at
All
least.
right, go get another one. There
Oh,
you
that was
go.
right there.
That was right there.
That's
except
two-
for It hit this concrete wall. You're still hammering those arrows straight into that fucking concrete wall.
Wait. Okay, you guys
Wait.
said
Wait.
actually hit the green?
Yeah, hit that green dot.
Oh,
Hit
Jesus.
that green dot. See, this is exactly
Oh.
what I just like cold, just out here cold. Actually, it's hot as shit. Oh, you gotta fix your sight. You're done. Don't do
No,
this anymore.
no, one more.
Come on, I can't see it.
One more.
This bow case,
It's rattling around there.
maybe just step left. I think that works. If you just step.
Oh,
left
if I
there.
get in line
Yeah,
with
there
it?
you go.
That's what this
There
is.
You go. Get in line.
Mm.
Get in line. Right there. There's a black path right there. There we go. Three's a charm. Okay.
Can I drive down there?
Yeah. Take your bow case.
I'm gonna drive down there.
We haven't seen it. Yeah. Friendly wager. What? $20? Or what? $20. $20.
Yeah, that looks good from here. All
That
right,
looks
boys,
great.
pack it up. Let's go. We don't want to get too close to it.
No, you don't want to wreck that bow case.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, we're so, man, that is close.
Look, I mean, I was right there. I mean, it was just like right off of it, right
All right,
here.
hey,
Yeah, I mean,
Mike,
that's
put an
evidence.
arrow.
Oh,
Put an arrow in what you were gonna call center of green.
oh, right here. That's what I was thinking center of green was.
Okay.
I thought you meant between the two greens.
Oh, right. Oh,
Center
that,
of the
center
greens.
Green, gotcha. Okay.
You know.
Now let's put an arrow. Where do you think center of green is? Maybe we'll put that.
Right there. Watch this.
Yes.
John, let's cut this right. Oh, look at that. Like right. Yeah.
I mean,
Were you aiming for that little black thing and you were aiming for that little circle? Oh, look at this.
yeah, dude, that's perfect.
Yeah.
You win style points.
Yeah, that went through. I can't believe this foam's so fragile. It's like so.
It just went straight.
It went
through
straight through. Like, let me align.
These are actually better.
Oh,
These are actually better for elk because they're hollow points.
yeah.
They're already peeled out.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
even better because you get more surface area.
Yeah, and these are
It's
like
already
free.
mushroomed out.
Look at this.
Perfect.
If I just come on the other side where it went through it, it's like right here.
It's
The
mushroomed
ballistics
out.
on these things are crazy.
Yeah, that's really good. the thing that is we know that concrete wall is stronger than your arrow. We do know that.
Let's have a shooting competition
So,
with
hey.
pistols.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
You sure about that?
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Make a bet on that one?
That's the only thing I'm good at.
Big Poppy's been working a lot. So
Oh.
I don't know. Them skills might be
Ooh,
serious.
I just came off the range.
It might be dull. Those like you might have some dull.
I would do a P11 limited.
Yeah.
I'm really good with that.
You like
pistol,
that
man.
limited, huh?
Oh my God.
Does
I
it
could
got a
do
comp on
a
it?
.13 split 5 rounds.
Does it got a comp on it?
Oh, it has a comp.
Yeah.
Basically everything you do into a stock
You're in
gun.
like a.
No, not on that gun because
Yeah,
I
we're in that fucking flashlight. Just keeps it down.
yeah, I know it will keep it down, but it doesn't go up. .13 splits. That's like impossible.
all
That's
day
like
long. I
it's just like,
can run a .13 on a stock block.
I don't know if that's true.
That's like
don't know.
fucking paperboy shit.
Wait, like out the box?
Out the box, stock block, .13.
Ooh, I don't
How much
know.
you want to bet?
Really?
Right on. How much you want?
Really?
Let's go.
How many rounds? Wait. What are we talking about? You talking about 2 rounds? I'm talking about 5 rounds. .13, .14, .13, .3.
So I have to have
A 5-round string.
A string of 5
With
consistent
.13.
.13s.
Yeah. That's the endurance.
Out of the box.
Out of the box.
That's good for our next video. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay, I'm done
like
with that. All right, let me get my bow case.
Yeah, get your bow case. God, that's a loud bow case. Today's guest is the author of A Manual for Surviving Worst Case Scenarios. Mike Glover, welcome to the Black Rifle Coffee podcast. I just can't wait to get into this. You know,
Thanks for the support.
I've, you know, I thought it was incredible that Jack Carr wrote you this foreword.
He wrote the book.
He did. That's good. No wonder I could understand it. Because the other issues that I have with this book are thank you for the support in allowing me to write this book for you, which I think was very nice, but it was written to somebody else. So I don't understand it, nor do I understand your signature here. It appears to be just a one line of scribbly marks.
I have a ghostwriter for that because I have
Good.
so many books that we're selling. We have to put it out like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Brenda, one of my employees,
Yep.
is doing it, and you know, unfortunately, that was supposed to be for Evan, not Even.
Right.
But when you're a national bestseller, you have to give and take. You know,
National bestseller. That is a national bestseller.
that's like
That's crazy.
that.
Did you
that's
make the
so
New York
bobo.
Times bestseller list?
No, I made Wall Street Journals.
Why? Why did you not make the New York Times bestseller?
Because
it seems crazy. Like
I made the
if you-
numbers.
But if you make the numbers, it's subjective, right? It's not subjective. The New York Times is never biased. Never bias. And
They
that's
use
what I love
facts.
about them. It's just black and white.
They use facts.
They do.
Statistics, and we currently outsold everybody.
You did.
And they decided not to put us on because
How do you know that? Like, explain to me how do you know how many books you sold?
so you can go through basically a book scan to see how many pass-throughs of the metrics of all books where they're bought, because they're pushed through distribution through the publisher.
Right.
So publisher could track where they landed, where they were sold through, and that includes Audible and all the versions of it. And I did 26,000 on open-end day. When to hit the New York Times best-selling list, you need 10,000.
26,000. Yeah. That's a lot of books, man.
I invested $500,000 in buying 25,000 of them, but we sold 1,000 people to real people.
Well, that's just a good.
Did you buy the
game
book?
plan. No, you
Interesting.
you
Noted.
you
Interesting.
brought this one over.
Yeah.
So why would I buy the book
Of course,
if I already have it? That doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make sense. Like my
I
fanny
brought-
pack.
So I did buy the audio book.
No, you didn't.
I did. I'll
You're
show you.
lying.
I have my phone. I'll pull
Did
it
you
up.
listen to it?
No.
Were you listening to it when you flipped your truck in the back country?
God, no. I was. I don't know what I was doing. It was such a.
Have you listened to one word of that book?
No. Why? I mean, I would just want to be honest. Like I've read
parts of this.
Have you listened to Jack Carr's book?
Which one?
Uh,
The new one?
yeah, the first one. Or no. I mean, all of them. Have you listened?
Yeah,
to
I've
it?
listened to all of them.
They're great.
Yeah. Here's the thing, and this is where I feel like a really bad friend,
Yeah.
is I don't really like you guys. And this is where I feel like a bad friend. So I tried to watch The Terminal List on Amazon. My wife liked it. I couldn't do it. You know why? Because they deviated from the book. So,
Yeah.
like when they deviate from the book, I can't watch anything. I feel like I need to.
Because you're tracking it along with the story that you read.
Correct. Yes.
Oh.
And as much as I really enjoy him,
Yeah.
I don't think
You should deviate.
watching the entire thing. Now, did I download it? Yes, or whatever it is. Did I buy it on Amazon? Of course, but I didn't watch the entire thing. I think my wife did.
Are you doing a book? There's rumors in the publishing world.
I am.
What you are?
Mm-hmm.
What's it on?
Just my history. I mean, we do have a name. I don't know if that's exactly what we're going to lock on, but we do have a name of it. But
What's the name? What's the name?
Mission to Grind.
What?
Yeah.
Mission
to Grind. Like permission to grind.
Oh.
To grind. But
Mission to Grind.
I don't know. And here's the thing that we're trying to pull together is how do we translate what I've learned in the military, essentially what I learned in the military, what I did in the CIA, and then what I've done in business. The issue that I have in business and or doing a book in any of these scenarios is I just don't think I have a lot of information to offer outside of like general advice.
Mm-hmm.
I like books, just, obviously I've read a few of them. I carried a lot of different books over the course of my professional career. There's a lot of different developmental books that have been very inspirational in my life.
Hey guys, this summer you could help Black Rifle Coffee in its boot campaign. We are raising $1 million for veterans, and all you need to do is drink ready-to-drink coffee. You can find it at your local grocery or convenience store. From now to the end of the year, every can of RTD you drink will contribute to making this massive donation possible. Thanks, guys.
One is Prepared.
Tell me about this book, Prepared.
Yeah, it'll take me a year. It'll take me over a year.
Yeah, I don't think it'd take you a year.
It is. That's what I give myself. Give me.
Well, you gave yourself a year,
I gave
but it
myself
won't take
year.
you a year.
It'll take me a year.
It won't take you a year.
Because I want to give like very specific examples to why I use the leadership. I hate all of these people out there talking about, not all of them. Some of them have legitimate good leadership and business advice. They do. But just most of them are influencer idiots that have never really run a business.
Isn't it crazy?
They don't know how to run a business. They've never dealt with HR. They've never dealt with payroll. They've never dealt with any of these issues. When you have 1,000 employees, there are things that you're going to see that, the small business owner on his way to his or her way on the way to 20 or 30 or 40 employees. Like I saw that stuff. And I think.
So that's going to be in the book.
Absolutely.
Invaluable lessons.
Very, very, very specifically things that I've learned that I've used on what I would say is a weekly and monthly turn over the course of the last 10 years. Communication is so important, obviously. How do we communicate? How do we lead? Mm-hmm. How do we manage? There's a big difference between leadership and manage. I only believe in lead by example, right? If I can't do it, or if I'm not willing to do it, mm-hmm. then how can I
expect somebody else?
No, I have to be able to do it.
Like roasting coffee.
I know how to do it.
Pressing shirts.
I know how to do it.
All the stuff that everybody else does because you outsource your time. Most people don't know how to do that.
No, yeah, and most people, like what I tell people is at the end of the day, I'm a customer service representative and I work for my customer. Like that's who I work for. And the difference between where I think a lot of, we'll call them business managers and owners, there's a difference in those two mentalities.
Yeah.
Which is when you're an owner and you really believe that you work for your customer, which it's intrinsic to who I am. It's part of my DNA. I do work for my customer. When I thank my customer, I actually believe it. Most corporate executives, those are platitudes. That is like that's something they come up with to make their customers feel better, but they don't really believe it. When I open up my refrigerator in the morning, I think, when I'm getting milk for the girls or something like that, most of the time I think, man, how lucky am I to have great customers that they've afforded me the opportunity to have this milk in my refrigerator that goes from my refrigerator into the bowls that, are ultimately going to feed my kids. And when you feel that, when you feel so much profound respect for your customer, you can't fake it. And I think there's a lot of executives that, and I've met some of them, I've worked with some of them, and I've fired a lot of them that they don't feel it, nor do they give a shit. They don't care.
Yeah.
You know what they care about? They care about inflating their own egos, or they think about their next promotion, or they think about their bonus. If you keep the company customer oriented, which is for a lot of founders, it's very hard to do because you have to hire a lot of people most of the time, and the message can get a little bit murky. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know I don't even know.
No, what you're saying, it's interesting because Black Rifle Coffee is not your first company.
Kind of.
Yeah, but even when I knew you, you had other companies.
Yeah, my first real company was a preparedness company.
What was it called?
Ready Man.
Yep, and then the other one was something Twist.
Yeah, Twist Rate. Yeah, it was a crowdfunding site for guys that worked for the DoD and specifically in areas where they couldn't put things on Kickstarter, and maybe they need intellectual property protection, but they needed funding for a device that might make that enhance our mission capabilities downrange. That was my first one. That was truly the first business. And
you started doing content. I remember I watched content. Content.
Yeah, early.
Yeah.
Straight, I did a instructional videos.
Yeah.
But really, the instructional videos never did anything. It was the blooper reel that did everything because I was trying to make content.
Yeah.
And it was just cussing the entire time and like. Well, I'll send you that so you can add some of it, John, to the.
It was super cool.
It was not. I was like wearing a collared shirt and like a.
You were wearing.
I was wearing a collared shirt because I was like, hey, I was fresh off the trail, homie. Like I was like, this is how you teach. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
But you were also like that's how you taught in the agency, where you're formal, professional, but you use humor to vector people in.
I used humor because I have no other means of communicating. I can be serious for a very short amount of time before I have to really be just kind of I
can't remember. You were teaching commo or surveillance or one of the classes, and you were like, this is like, you touch this and you work the mic, something like, you're like your uncle.
Oh no, I'll tell you exactly what it was.
Yeah.
So it was. This was my standard line because when you're doing one man CQB, a lot of guys had never done one man. Like you find yourself on a target as one guy. You find yourself on a target all the time as one guy, all the time. But you never really trained to it.
Never.
So
it's so weird.
My whole thing with like starting from one man, and then you evolve to 2, 3, 4. So you start to move from the single man element because you need to know what to do in that circumstance, which I didn't quite understand why the mill was never like teaching that because they're like,
weird.
You need two. And
support.
It's like, but what if I don't have to?
Yeah. And in combat, you routinely don't have to.
The first target I was ever on, I was on the roof by myself. And I was like, what the fuck do I do now, man?
You're like,
yeah.
Support.
Support. Well, everybody's fucking busy, man. We got stuff to do.
You got to make it happen.
And so my whole thing that I had kind of evolved into from the agency and a few other guys that were very specifically involved in the developmental aspects of that were Direct Action Resource Center, which is in just north of Little Rock. And then they would teach 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you'd evolve into multiple element.
Because you went
unilateral
there
CQB.
to get research or to start looking at.
Yeah, to start doing it because nobody else was doing one man.
Yeah.
Like, nobody was doing one man. So doing one man, and this was my joke, I was like, doing a one man room clear is going to feel really weird. Kind of like
So
kissing your
weird.
uncle. At first, it's going to be strange, but then you might get used to it.
Yeah, you're
that,
like,
that was
yeah.
my joke. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I remember like half the class, because we were all like senior guys.
Yeah.
Half the class would be like
Just
stoic and just not say a word. And then the other half of us were like rolling.
like, yeah, that's funny.
That was like awesome.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes it's hit or miss.
Sometimes it's a bit, but that's the community just in general, right?
Oh, dude.
I mean,
Everybody takes themselves so seriously.
oh my God, man. So serious. Like,
Well, I did a video with John with GBRS. We did that together, right? Single man CQB.
yeah. Oh,
And everybody's like,
man, I know.
oh,
I saw
what the
it.
fuck? It's like, hey guys, this isn't just like me making shit up. This is literally what will save your life when you're by yourself. Or don't pay attention to the tactics and then think you're a guy who has a SWAT team at your disposal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honey, can you provide support? Wife ain't going to support you in CQB. I'm sorry. I mean, if she's squared away,
Maybe,
she
I don't know.
would. But maybe. It's like that's what you have to do. And for some reason, those nuances, I mean, you identified that probably early on in your career as in the business form, as an entrepreneur.
Well, like, just from the CQB perspective, as you're starting to look for work, and it definitely is a one man, you don't need, and this was the whole thing. If you had multiple different people, you were collapsing your sector of fire, and ultimately what you're doing is you're clearing things that really you didn't need to clear. You just didn't.
Yeah, there's a bookcase. You're staring at it. You don't need to stick
fucking
your gun in.
walking in that direction or whatever. And honestly, there's a time and place for all of that. There truly is. There's a time and place for all of that. But once you've evolved, as what I would say is into more of the professional evolution of the gunfighter, specifically from CQB circumstance, and then you've gone into what I would say is multiple hundreds of targets, and you've got maybe thousands of iterations of repetition, you start realizing, okay, I don't have to be in this exact position all the time, nor do I have to collapse my sector of fire and hold on that fucking door. Because really, if my back is to an open space, and that's the most probable statistical probability of threat. So like when people were talking to me early on, or when I would talk to people, it's like statistical probability of threat is actually a term I coined. So most people don't even understand. Like, I was beating the drum so early for one man CQB, and that probably one of the first guys to ever do it in the context of like, hey, this is the way you need to train. You need to start learning. When you start learning CQB, you learn doing one man. You know why? Because even if you're on a big target with lots of dudes, you are going to find yourself alone. It is 100%. Like, I don't fucking care who you are. Like, you're going to find yourself alone. So why not learn how to do that first? Then you progress into 2, 3, 4, squad, platoon, whatever, troop, however you want to do it. It just didn't make sense to me. So that's why when I went back, started really beating the drum for one man, dude, you want to talk about, you think that YouTube is spicy. Man, this fucking community is spicy. Like, you'd have dudes, we don't do it at SD6 like that. We don't do it at CAG like that. We don't do it at, SF and Ranger Battalion everywhere. Like, nobody did it. So everybody was like, fuck you. Like, no way. And then guys that got it, they'd be like, oh yeah, I totally understand what you're
we're
doing.
we're by ourselves. We don't have a team of guys. I got like a Glock 17 in my waistband in the middle of Yemen. Like, what am I supposed to do?
You gotta have a tool.
You gotta do something. And I always thought collectively, it's like IMT, individual movement tactics. You don't do the battle drill first. You don't do the collective task first. You do the individual movement tactic or technique.
That's exactly the way that I thought about it, because I thought about it like FM7-8, and as you're starting to look at like individual movement tactics, and then the crawl, rock, run, from what you're doing from an infantry soldier all the way through, you start learning how to do this by yourself.
Yeah.
So why did we start doing
down.
CQB with 2 guys? It's like you just fucking magically appear on a target with 2 guys. But I started learning it, and I started learning it as 4, actually no, probably 2,
Two, yeah.
Yeah,
they did
two, and then you progress, right?
two
But
and
you
4.
never learn one.
Never.
And that never made, I shouldn't say it never made sense to me because I just did whatever I was told. But later in my career, it's like, this doesn't make sense, man. I got to learn how to do this by myself.
I had an 18 Bravo, a senior 18 Bravo in the SIF company in B23 who came from C11 from Okinawa. His name was Will Lancaster. I think to this day, he's the best 18 Bravo that I've ever seen because he cared about the mission set. He grew up in Oki and he did a lot of rotations to the Philippines. And Will, for the first time, we were at Aberdeen Training Facility, which is now owned by, I think the Air Force owns it.
Yeah.
ATF, out past the CAD compound. And we were out there doing training, and we were with 160th. We were fast roping on targets and doing stuff. And it was all just a helo deal. But he said, hey, let's try some stuff. And so he was having us like rope into targets by ourselves, and he would set up targets in all the rooms.
Right.
And we would run it by ourselves. And I remember the first time I did that, not knowing what the hell I was doing, and then coming out of it going, dude, what the shit? It's like when you look back behind you and you're like, hey, tools and tactics, what you got? And everybody's kicking rocks, and you're like, all right, I guess I'll just make it up. That's what everybody's doing in the military. They're making shit up.
Yeah.
Because the first targets I hit in Iraq from Afghanistan when I was in the CIF, we breached a door, and then if there was MAMs in the first room, everybody was getting flex cuff while the rest of the unit's pushing through, and you'd be like standing at a doorway like, there's nobody coming, support, nobody's going to come, like, got to clear this room by myself, and have no tools or tactics. Like, hopefully it was a corner-fed room, and you're like, you already had half the room, and you just had to dig the point of domination. But if you had any other spaces, I remember the first time you taught me that, and I was in the course, and I was like, this is crazy. I was like, this doesn't make sense. Then we did a sim hit version of it, and my gun was retracted.
Yeah.
And it was down that long hallway that opened up to the warehouse space. So at the end of the hallway, up in the warehouse, I had my person that I was protecting. They rolled out to the left, and I was retracted, and I looked out in the open space, and in the darkness, there was a dude. And because my eyes were moving where my gun was, I had a shooting solution. Versus seeing him and then reacting with my gun stocked, I had it retracted. And as soon as I saw him, instead of going, let me get the gun on my shoulder and then let me orient my optic, I was like, click, boom.
Yeah.
And I started sending them in his direction and then getting the gun into a stocked position, and he was already hit. And I was like, oh my God. If I didn't have that tool or tactic, as soon as I broke that corner, we would have all been dead. And that's like, it would have been like, and then I realized, oh, it's about retracting your gun, looking and identifying a threat and having a fair shot versus painting the walls with a gun, barricaded to your body and then hunting frantically because it's very slow to move a gun off your shoulder.
Right.
Hunting frantically in 360 degrees of space, which we had 360 at the warehouse that we trained at. And it just made total sense. And then trying to convey that to anybody, unless they actually do it.
And they also have to have the experience and the intelligence to understand what you're doing, because you also
keep an open mind.
Like, you have to keep an open mind. You also have to think about, like, I've got to implement this technique at night with NVGs and a laser, right? And the whole thing with this is, like, I didn't quite understand why we were constantly going to the shoulder, because at night
you never go to shoulder.
Never go to shoulder. So I needed what I wanted was a technique that would be day or night friendly and that would allow me to move. And that's what I needed. I need to be able to fucking move. And if you're one guy and you got to move from point A to point B, and let's say I've got a lot of real estate to cover, and welding that thing to your shoulder and moving across, we'll call it a really complex objective to do link up procedures also with somebody that might only be one guy when you're in the middle of a fucking gunfight. Dude, I need to move.
Yeah.
Like
you're weighing speed over
speed is your security, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a trade-off that you're constantly doing, especially by yourself. Like, that's what I kept
So you
thinking
started
about.
that whole program.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, and which is interesting is that program is now taught to a lot of operators, and I mean, everybody who's in the field in high-risk environments knows that tactic and technique and swears by it. and they've adopted it.
They've adopted it. I'm sure there's probably a lot of people that would say that that's theirs. They came up with it, but ultimately it was mine. I had to force feed that pretty.
Well, I remember you teaching it as the primary, and I remember the dev guys. It's funny. Who's the tall like country bumpkin dude? Am I allowed to say that on the podcast?
Sure.
He's like a tall
Right.
Navy SEAL, and he was on the Bin Laden raid.
Yeah.
And he was one of the instructors,
yeah.
but he took a step back like when you came in, because he was like head of CQB. He took a
Right.
step back, and then you did the thing. And it's funny. I went in there and I was like, "Hey, are you a Navy SEAL?" And he's like, "Yeah." How'd you know? I was like, "Oh, I saw your license plate on your truck."
That's right.
Because he has the Silver Star license plate with the thing. I was
Oh,
like, "Were you
yeah,
on the
that
Bin
was-
Laden
that
raid?"
was- that was,
He's like, "Yeah." How'd you know
Yeah.
that? I was like, "Oh, I saw your Silver
Saw
Star
yours.
thing. I figured everybody got a Silver Star."
No, that was so he was on
Great
Roberts.
dude.
He was on Roberts Ridge.
Yeah, great dude.
Yeah.
Great
dude.
Yeah.
And anyway, like enough about me. More.
Let's talk about this
you.
book,
Let's talk about
Prepared.
prepared.
So
It's
how
great to have
prepared
the
were
author
you
here?
How prepared were you to roll off the side of a cliff recently? Because that was a point of contention.
I wasn't really. I had. Well, my daughter and I just got done swimming, so we'd driven the truck down into this like fairly steep area where we were just swimming in the river and hanging out. And I just got a new camper, so we were out for the weekend. Just my 9-year-old and I just kicking it, and we got bolted in. So we got in, put on our seatbelts, and started going up the grade. And to be fair, I mean, there's two things, right? Which is I was going around a blind corner, and the only thing I could think of that entire weekend, because it was going into July 4th, and I kept thinking about blind corners and then oncoming traffic.
UTVs or side by side.
Yeah, dude, because we
Drunks.
left one area. We were up in northern Idaho, and there was a lot of people up there. I was like, we got to get out of here because I don't want to get hit. And I've actually witnessed 2 fatalities up there just in the last 10 years.
Wow.
When she was still in her mommy's stomach, I think my wife was about 6 months pregnant, and I was the first to respond to a rollover fatality.
UTV?
No, it was a truck. So same thing,
God.
soft corner, guy came around, had a bunch of people in back, and
And he rolled it?
he rolled it off into the river. And then there was a woman in the back of the vehicle. She had her head crushed basically, and her daughter and her husband, they were with her, and so I was the first one on scene. So I was pretty very
That's rough.
conscious as to, hey, there's people up here. This is 4th of July. A lot of
Alcohol.
Yeah. So I took her to a different place, and that place is a little bit sketchy, we'll call it, on
Remote?
the road. Yeah, it's a little bit more remote. And it had a wash maybe last season, where there was a lot of really soft gravel in some of those corners.
Hey guys, now's your chance to win the ultimate Bass Cat boat giveaway. One lucky winner will go home with a fully rigged, custom wrapped Bass Cat Cougar, plus a year's supply of Black Rifle Coffee. You'll also win tackle, fishing gear, and gear from brands like Oakley, Rapala, Humminbird, and more. Winners also get $10,000 in cash prize, bringing the total retail value over $101,000. One winner will randomly be chosen in September, so enter now to win a once-in-a-lifetime ultimate fishing giveaway.
And there was a big pile of dirt that had come off the road, and it was covering about half the gravel road on a blind corner. I went out on the right side, and the gravel gave away. And
So the rear
the
right.
rear just slipped out from under me, man. And to be fair, I mean, I rolled a vehicle in Afghanistan several years ago. I didn't give a flying fuck. Like, it didn't bother me at all. Like, this is like different when you roll.
Your
When you
baby girl's in there.
you roll somebody. You roll in the vehicle with somebody that you really care about, like more deeply than any other emotion that you might have or ever feel in your life. And I didn't understand, because what the fuck, like the road, just literally peeled out.
You had
under
no
me.
control in that situation.
No, because even if I turn left to bring it back, it's already gone. It's like
gone,
the road's going.
So the rear fell down and then it rolled over.
Yeah.
How many full rotations?
Just one full and a half.
So it went rooftop, back up on it again, and then on its side.
Yeah, on its side.
Oh my God! So what was your reaction with your daughter? What was your instinct?
I reached over and grabbed her and pinned her to the seat.
Yeah.
As we were rolling, my hand was like pinning her to the seat, and then it stopped, and it was, "Are you okay?" Yes. She's obviously conscious and like 5'5", right? I got like. She's alert oriented, like everything's good. I'm like, all right, we got to get out of here because I don't know if it's going to go over again.
Yeah.
So
did your pupils dilate? And I can imagine like the surge of like trying to save her because you're thinking worst case, your primal instincts are to save her. Mm-hmm. Were you hyper aware?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine like you were focused and you could feel the revolutions. Like
yeah. You could. I could tell you, like I remember that entire thing, like pinning her to the side and then watching us roll and looking at her, looking out, looking at her, just going back and forth between the two. And then when we stopped, it was get her out of her seatbelt, get me out of my seatbelt because like I'm getting me out of my seatbelt and I fall down. And then I push her back up out of the driver's side and we get out, but we just got done swimming. So we didn't have any shoes on. We were wet, like nothing. And well, now I get her back up on the road, and I'm like, shit, I don't have shoes. I don't have shoes on. I don't have anything. I'm like, I got to go back down and get my phone because, like, that's the only way that we're going to be able to get out of here. And so I climbed back down, and it was a fairly aggressive ledge. So. Like
Did something stop you from going over and over again?
Yeah, it's like a series of like trees and brush, basically.
Yeah, like scrub oak. Mm-hmm. If that didn't stop you, how far would you roll down?
Maybe one more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
To the bottom.
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
So
any lessons learned? Like anything that you would do?
Yeah,
different?
yeah. Well, one, complacency is a real thing, right? And if I would have been paying attention to
surface.
Yeah, just surface, like just. And trust me when I say this, if you're not driving on those roads on a regular turn, you kind of forget where you are. Yeah. And not only do you forget where you are, you start getting a little bit more like I'm a very confident and competent person in the way that I, navigate vehicles. Like, I got winches and fucking jacks and, like I got it all. And, if you're not, what's that thing? Stay alert, stay alive, right? Yeah, it's like, and even with, kids and family members, like I haven't had a drink in like probably a year, right? Yeah. So like,
same. I've been drinking a lot.
Stone cold sober in all regards, right? It's like I had like a gallon of coffee that day. Like it's not as if I wasn't paying attention. It was like, man, I wasn't paying attention to the circumstance. Like I was paying attention to my daughter. I was paying attention to oncoming traffic. I was paying attention to all of these different things. I didn't plug in all the variables. I wasn't looking at the surface of the road. When I went out a little bit too far on the right-hand side because the dirt had come out, I was like just entrusting that, there was going to be a hard packed surface all the way through. And there's just things that you take for granted. Like, one, you're confident. Confidence at times builds complacency. And if you're not plugging in all the variables, like it can bite you in the ass. And honestly, like we both walked out of there without a scratch on us. Like not a scratch on us.
Pretty lucky.
No, yeah, 100%. Like we were very, very lucky. And now I have a lot of like I got to build back, trust with my daughter. I've got to build back trust in the context of like, I can't make this be a black mark in her memory for the mountains, right? Because you want her to be out and about and confident in what she's doing. And you can't, like we were driving up the canyon to go up Brighton to a total archery challenge the other day. Yeah. And I could see it on her face. I was like, you all right? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm like, okay.
God, does that break your heart?
Yeah, man. So like there's just a lot of things that go into that where you gotta be careful. Like obviously.
I just did a podcast on Mike Force, and the title of it, I said to John, is Being a Dad is Rad. And I had a story in it where I talked about, like yesterday, we rescued a bird in the park that was hung upside down. But similar-ish situation where we're doing the fireworks for 4th of July. Last year, my daughter, she was 3, and she was terrified. This year, she's like, yeah, let's do it. And so I get one of these things that pops things up in the air.
Yeah.
It falls over. Just like a TikTok video.
Yeah, yeah.
And it starts shooting. And so the first thing I think is, this is crazy, but my son is like there too. And I don't think about my son because I'm like, he could take it. I immediately grab Penelope and I turn and run. And as I'm running, thinking I'm the preparedness guy, right? Like I prepare for all these things. I'm running, and I go to put her inside the back of the house, the back door, and I trip on the stairs, and she falls, and her chest lands on the edge of concrete stairs.
Gosh.
And it doesn't puncture her, but it like puts a scrape and marks her. And I trip, she falls, she's already scared shitless because of the fireworks, and then she lands, and I pick her up, and she looks at me like, what did you just do to me? Like, why did you slam me on the ground on the edge of concrete stairs? And then she's like, and then she's crying. And I'm like, dude, put me in a rocket ship to blast me off this planet Earth because all the wrong I've done. And I just felt so helpless. And I realized, in kind of that moment, one, I'm a horrible boyfriend because I just like abandoned Jess in the middle of the backyard, and I'm a horrible father to my son because I had options.
Right.
And I'm like, everybody else can fend for themselves, but not my baby girl. She's 4. I picked her up, but in my willingness to do good, it turned out as a bad outcome. And it's like sometimes you just don't have control. And I felt horrible and like shit. And she even said to me, she said, Dad, why did you hurt me? And I'm like, baby, it was an accident. And she goes, I don't like those fireworks. And I'm like, yeah, the bad fireworks. And I'm thinking the whole time, she's like, I just got out of this. Maybe she thinks it's the fireworks that caused the issue. But those kind of things happen. And dude, I can't even remember how many times I've been hurt in my dad's face of like horror. And now I reflect as like a kid looking at my dad whenever I got hurt and the helplessness he had. It's like that's going to happen in your journey as a parent. But as much as you can to prevent those things and staying focused, getting off your damn phone, ditch the booze, like focus on being a dad and being present. Because if you're not, I mean, my kids are 4 and they want to kill themselves all the time, and they will.
Right.
If you let them, they will literally do what. I mean, I walked in the kitchen the other day and my son had a Montana knife. And it was like one of the butcher ones, like the chef ones, and he's just holding. He's like, Dad, this is cool. And I'm like, okay, son, don't move. and I'm like, holy crap! It's like that's just how they're programmed, man.
Yeah, the other day she was pulling something off the counter, and the knife slipped off the counter and then stuck in the floor, like right by her foot. And I was like, whoa! But the funny thing is, so not funny, but the turn of events here is like, so we get home, so I get her on a plane, fly her up, like. Then I turn right back around and fly back, and then I'm up there trying to pull it out of a little canyon area. She falls down in the window well, like scrapes herself, all the scrapes all over her, her legs from falling down because she was trying to save these 2 baby quail. And so we rolled the vehicle, not a scratch on us. The next day, she falls down a window well, like trying to save 2 little birds, and scrapes herself all to hell. But I mean, like being a dad, like for me at least, creating these moments. Like I'd been looking so forward to creating this moment for my daughter, and like we were having these epic experiences, and like taking her out in the field and showing her, my favorite places in the planet, which a lot of those places are remote. And they're a little bit more dangerous. Yeah. And I'm not going to be that parent that raises my kid in a bubble. I mean, fuck, dude. I was talking to my neighbor was telling me about this, that there's like a guy in the neighborhood that like his kids can't even go and play in the backyard without wearing a fucking helmet. And I was like, that is crazy. One, like that's just like one, that's crazy. Two, like my life, you know, I have a higher risk tolerance than most people, because obviously, you know, I think confidence, once again, can sometimes breed a bit of complacency, but I'm going to take my kids out and show them some incredible shit. Like they're not going to miss out on seeing all these great things. Like my kids, you know, they're out starting fires and shooting their 22s and, you know, being out in the woods, not wearing shoes. They're going to get hurt. They're going to get scrapes and bruises. They're going to get banged up a little bit. And like, I know that, like, you know, jumping off cliffs into the river and like taking them out. There's a difference between letting them kind of like figure shit out and like mitigating against those things, and then being a little bit too complacent and
rolling in a big truck.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
maybe you need to read this book that I wrote called
maybe
Prepared.
that prepared. Well, if it was written to me,
I could just add an A.
EVEN.
I could add an A
Yeah.
in there.
Written to me. But it's awesome. Like by far the only thing in my life, I don't know if I should phrase it like that, but it's by far this is the most fulfilling thing
By far.
in my life. Like, you know, that saying by a country mile, I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
know how to measure.
Sounds cool though.
What's the difference between a country mile and an urban mile? I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
Nor what's the difference between any miles, but you see
Yeah.
the point of this, which is
Of
like,
course.
dude, it is so. I don't know if I would have been prepared to have children earlier in my life, but I fucking sure as hell wish I would have had like the opportunity, because if I could have had like 5, 6, 10 of them, man, I would. Like,
Same.
they're awesome.
I'm trying to have babies with.
As many women as you can. I see that.
Hey, that came out way wrong.
Hold on.
I want a crap ton of kids, man, because I love it. It's the most fulfilling thing in the world. And then I was talking about this on Mike Force, selfishly plugging Mike Force.
Yeah, Mike Force.
Um,
Go listen to Mike Force.
I talked about how I grew up in a broken home, and most people have
was like
that
the
experience.
roof cracked? Or
Yeah, it's a
how
little.
was that?
It was like the shingles on our mobile home weren't together.
Got it.
In our single.
When were your parents
duplex.
divorced?
My parents divorced when I was 4.
Okay.
But my dad remarried, my mom remarried, and then both of them went through another divorce.
Oh,
So I was like, "Oh, you're my new mommy." Psych. And
No.
then it's another girl. "Oh, you're my
Right.
new mommy." Psych. And so I was like constantly very adaptive in this like traumatic situation as a kid. But I use that as I go now and go, I could repair all that. And I'm not great at it, especially as a spouse. I'm a horrible spouse. Because I weigh
recognizing your weaknesses.
I suck as a spouse, but I'm very good as a father.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I pick my battles. I'm trying harder, but it recalibrated everything in me. Because now I call it hardened focus, right? If you were going through a stress shoot on a range and you were feeling sorry for yourself, and I said, your loved one is in that situation that you have to kick open that door and rescue your loved one, all of a sudden you go, whoa, and you harden your focus. Because you're like, oh, this is serious. My brain's now taking this serious.
Yeah.
Because it's not just calisthenics.
Right.
Well, in life, when you have kids, it hardens your focus in life. Because now you have to provide. Now you have to be squared away. Now you can't afford to be a shitbag. So all these things that you kind of like, you know, cluster effed, you're just like, I can just get away with it. Now you can't. And now people think, well, this is a bad thing. Like it's like, it's like becoming a spouse or building a relationship, building a healthy home, establishing a family is a bad thing. It's like, oh, well, you need to, take your time, girlfriend, go out there and explore the world. Like, what the hell does that mean? So go out there and whore around or go out there and just be reckless? How about the best thing for you is having a stable situation with a cognitive and present person, and then build that relationship, have children, and build like a happy home. Like, why is that so bad? And then when you do that, all of a sudden it's like, well, it's magic. All of a sudden I feel squared away because I have a hardened focus, and most people don't, man. I think that's the detriment to young men now is they don't have a hardened focus. They just have a hard on.
Yeah, well, I think most people do, right? It's like
Hard-ons are...
Yeah, I mean, 50% of the population.
At least 50%.
At least 52, maybe. No, I think you're right. I don't exactly know what's going on with, nor do I really care about the younger generation in the context of, yes, I got you. What I care about is like what's going on in my family, what's going on in my business, what's going on in my kids.
Same.
Like
your friends.
Yeah, my friends.
Yeah.
They're my peer group, but it's like the 20-somethings, like being a 20-something in America, honestly, I was actually reading or talking to somebody about this, about some study on how kids are maturing much later in life and they don't quite understand you know what it was? It was around the college debt forgiveness thing, where I was talking to somebody recently, actually a really squared away person, and they were talking about college debt forgiveness and how they don't quite understand why it's like our responsibility to pay for their college debts. And I was like, fuck, you're speaking my language. I don't understand it either. Their point was they think that there's a generation of people that are maturing so much later that they have this mentality that it's their responsibility. I was like, wait a minute. So how old were you when you joined the Army?
17.
You're 17.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go back and go to school after that, or did you go to school when you were in the Army?
When I was in the Army.
Yeah. So
part-time.
So
15 years to get a bachelor's degree it took me.
But my point in that is, it's like, even at the age of 18, 19, 17 years old, we still had the cognitive ability to make decisions that weren't going to lead ourselves to the point of which, okay, if you know that you're going to get a bachelor's in art.
Oh.
Okay. Or whatever. Current events or something like that. We'll call it a liberal arts bachelor's degree. Essentially what you can do is work in the service industry, because that's what you'll be doing, because there's not a technical skill that will allow you to advance and ultimately grow yourself professionally so you can make more money.
Yeah.
So because somebody decides that they're 18 to 24 on their pathway to a bachelor's degree, that they're not going to develop a professional skill that will pay them a livable wage, somehow that becomes our issue as a taxpayer, because the university industrial complex has siphoned off taxpayer dollars for decades and ultimately institutionalized people to believing that if they have a bachelor's degree in anything, it could be like, paint fucking reading or something crazy.
That's the magic
somehow that becomes like the guys like my dad that, is 75 years old that hasn't had college debt for, probably his entire fucking life. Somehow that becomes his responsibility because somebody made a bad decision and they graduated without an engineering degree or without a computer science degree or without some degree that will allow them to live above $10 an hour. I don't know, but I think it's really, it's important for us just as a country to figure out, like, are we equally yoked or not? Because I think when you feel like you're not equally yoked in this, that's when you start to breed resentment and animosity towards other people within your country, right? And I think there's a portion of our country right now that they work really fucking hard to put food on their table, and they don't feel like they're equally, they feel like they're carrying a little bit more weight than the rest of them.
Yeah, right? What about, the guys who go to trade school, vocational schools, technical schools? How about all those guys, including members of my own family, paid their way through those processes to get those trades, to lay bricks, to build schools, to do the hard work that laborers do, to weld, to work on cars,
to drive a delivery, for FedEx or UPS, or to come in and roast coffee in a giant coffee roaster, whatever that might be. It doesn't have to be ours, but you're developing a trade, which is ultimately going to create the company you work for wealth and you. Because if your value add, you will be compensated. It's just the way the whole fucking system works.
Yeah.
And somehow I think people have got it into their philosophical existence that other people in our country like owe them because they have more. I don't know, because I never believed that, actually. I don't know about you, but I never looked at somebody with like a big house driving down the road because I grew up basically in a trailer park too.
It must be nice.
Must be nice. Or that fucking guy owes me something. No, I was like, oh man, I want to be like that person someday. I want to have a nice house. I want to have nice shit.
That should be the next podcast. It must be nice should be the title.
It must be nice.
It must be nice.
It must be nice.
I don't even know what that means.
I think what it is it's when people see you doing better or than them, there's automatically a certain amount of resentment, which ultimately is probably where the where socialism and the philosophy of socialism, because like, to be fair, if you look at like Marxism in general, and to overthrow the bourgeoisie, in some ways, like we have an aristocracy or a bourgeoisie here, it's the political elite, right? So when you think about, like, yeah, there is a bit of resentment because, you know, there is no term limit, there is no like consequences for people's actions. So yeah, you have a bit of resentment towards those people.
You can make $50 million as a politician.
Yeah, and you can make economic decisions that ultimately affect your independent or your wealth. Like, I don't know how that's a totally different podcast. Mike Glover, the author of Prepared, everyone. Thank you so much for stopping into the Black Rifle Studio. We just can't thank you enough for wearing tiger stripe shirts and
supporting your company,
supporting my company.
Thanks, Evan.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you so much,
Mikel Glaver.
Black Rifle's exclusive coffee subscription is for the die-hard coffee heads who want the best BRCC has to offer. Each roast is hand-selected from the best coffee farms around the globe. Members will get a new exotic micro-lot coffee each month sent with free shipping, early access to new BRCC releases, and exclusive discounts on over 100 partner brands including Sig Sauer, RepTech, Silencer Central, Fieldcraft Survival, and more. Specialized recipe cards for every roast, plus unique stickers for your collection that match the artwork for each bag design. Join and reserve your spot in the ECS now, because these roasts are ultra limited, and when they are gone, they're gone for good.
That concludes today's training. Any questions? Woo! Drum titties, boy!